There is always one student who clearly understands everything and still does not get the best grades, and another who does not seem as sharp but keeps finishing higher. That is not a mistake. That is the system. Most people assume intelligence should lead to high grades. Schools reinforce this from the beginning. High marks are treated as proof of ability. Low marks are treated as proof of a problem. The logic feels so obvious that no one checks whether the system actually works that way. It does not. When people call a student smart, they usually mean something specific. The student understands deeply. They recognize patterns before they are pointed out. They explain ideas without reading from the page. They connect information across subjects without being told to. This kind of intelligence is real, and it matters long after school ends. But schools do not reward understanding. They reward performance. And those are two very different things. Grades measure how well a student performs inside a fixed format, under time pressure, using the structure a marker expects. Not depth, not curiosity, not original thinking. The test has a clock, and the clock does not care how interesting your answer is. The test has a format, and the format does not reward the student who sees more than what was asked. A student who writes a more thoughtful response than the official answer key can still score lower than someone who matched the key almost word for word. That is not a flaw in the student. That is the system functioning exactly as it was designed. Some students figure this out early. They study past papers until the patterns become obvious. They learn which phrases earn marks, which structures are expected, which types of answers get full credit without requiring anything original. They train themselves to write in a way that is easy to mark. They finish on time. They leave nothing blank. These students may or may not be the deepest thinkers in the room. That is beside the point. What they have learned to do is convert effort into marks, and grades are a measurement of marks. Thought is measured somewhere else, if it is measured at all. This is where it gets uncomfortable. The students who score highest are not always the ones who understand the most. They are the ones who understood the game earliest. They figured out that at some point, the system stops asking, "Do you understand this?" and starts asking, "Can you deliver this the way we expect?" That is a skill. It is a valuable skill, but it is not intelligence. It is structured performance executed at speed. Smart students often lose marks for the opposite reason. They overthink questions designed to be answered in a line. They see complexity where the examiner wanted a simple response. They spend too long on the early questions because they care about getting them right and then leave the last section incomplete. The student who understands the material better than anyone in the room walks out having left 2 questions blank. They write answers that are more insightful but harder for a marker to score. They confuse knowing the material with being ready to be tested on it. Knowing something and being able to score with it are not the same thing. That gap shows up on the result sheet every time. There is also the matter of how answers are read. Markers work through large stacks under pressure of their own. They have seen the same question answered hundreds of times. Answers that are clearly structured and easy to follow tend to receive the benefit of the doubt. Answers that are dense, unconventional, or harder to decode tend to lose marks even when the thinking behind them is strong. This is not bias in any dramatic sense. It is how evaluation at scale has to work. Clarity is rewarded because at volume it has to be. Grades reflect something real: discipline, preparation, the ability to follow instructions under pressure. These are useful traits. They show up in workplaces, in institutions, in every structured environment people enter after school. But the mistake most people make is treating grades as if they also measure intelligence, creativity, or long-term potential. They do not. They measure a specific kind of performance inside a specific kind of frame. A student at the top of the sheet has proven they can operate inside that frame. A student in the middle has not proven the opposite. The sheet is not wide enough to show it either way. Here's the part no one talks about. Both students walk away misreading themselves. The smart student who scored lower starts doing the maths in their head. They understood the material, they know they did, but the results say otherwise. So they start adjusting the story. Maybe they are not as capable as they thought. Maybe understanding was never the advantage they believed it was. Over time, the grade becomes louder than everything else they know about themselves. A number on a page starts to override years of evidence that their thinking is sharp. They do not decide this consciously. It just settles in, one result at a time, until the student who once trusted their own mind begins second-guessing it in rooms where they used to feel sure. The high-scoring student gets misread from the other direction. They are labeled as hardworking, disciplined, consistent, all true, but rarely are they credited with intelligence. The assumption is that they grind for their results, that what they have is effort and nothing more. This is also incomplete. Many of these students are sharp. They simply learned early how to aim that sharpness at the thing being measured. Reducing them to effort alone ignores the strategic thinking behind how they perform. But the label sticks, and over time, some of them internalize it too. They start to believe they are not the smart one, just the organized one. Two students, two incomplete labels, both shaped by a system that never told either of them what it was actually measuring. This same pattern runs through everything that comes after. There are people who understand their work deeply but never get promoted. People who produce strong ideas but never receive credit. People whose ability is obvious in conversation and invisible in every formal record attached to their name. Most systems do not measure thinking. They measure output in a format the system already knows how to evaluate. School is just the first place people experience this. It is rarely the last. Grades do not tell you how smart you are. They tell you how well your thinking fits a system. That system did not measure all of you. It measured the part of you that could fit inside its rules. Everything else, it never even saw.